This is 8 Minutes of Awesome. I'm Jennifer Lipsky. Joining me right now is Charan Surdhar, who is based in the UK and is an epigeneticist healing people through her work. Hi, Charan.
Hi, Jennifer. Thank you for having me. It's such a
Oh,
great idea to be here.
no, thank you. Thank you so much for joining. So, you worked as a geneticist for over a decade, identifying genetic disorders in children at a hospital, and now you work as an epigeneticist. And as I said, you're directly healing people through your work. But can you kind of define for us the difference between being a geneticist versus an epigeneticist?
Yes, and it's a great question because a lot of people ask that. Genetics is where we believe that, or did believe, and a lot of people still do, that it's the genes that control our biology. And so when I was doing that work, it was the information that I was receiving in the laboratory, investigating, would be given to the consultants, and then they would give it to the patients, and they would then cater the treatment according to what the mutations were. And that still goes on and it is helpful. But the difference between that work and now is that that is where we believe we're victims to our biology. And this work, the epigenetics, is more about we move away from the victim mentality and into that frame of mind where it's more that we are in control of our biology. And really, that's in a nutshell the explanation. And epigenetics means that there's a control above the genes that's impacting the way that the genes are expressed or read, whichever way you want to say it, because then they create proteins in the body. So if we have emotions we experience, which we all do, in very colorful ways, and each of those emotions can then impact the way that those particular genes are expressed. And so it really is about how do we feel? How are we present to ourselves? And how do we show up? And
Mm.
that is how then that impacts the way that our genes are expressed, and that's epigenetics.
I see. I
So
see. Yeah. So you said that. So there's our genes, and then there's the control above the genes. So you're saying that that is what you focus on. Is that right?
mhm, yes, so I work with my clients to look at that, to look at what it is that's getting in the way of them being authentic. Because really, that's what it is. If you're authentic, then you have positive gene expression. And what that means is basically that you are just being who you're here to be, and it's your birthright to be healthy.
Wow, that is amazing work. It's really amazing work. And I saw on your website that you have a beautiful phrase that kind of floats and flows along the top, and it says, enter the world of positively expressing your genes. So you're saying we have the power and the ability to do that.
Yes, we do. And the reason is because the old framework of thinking with the genetics is that if we have a gene, and if say for instance someone has diabetes in the family, and then they sort of expect that that would be passed on because the grandfather had it, and then the dad had it, and so then the so and so so and forth in the generations would expect to have it too, because you've been taught that if you have a gene in the family, then that's what's going to happen.
Mm.
But the epigenetics way of thinking is that each gene can be expressed in 30,000 different ways. So just because you have that particular gene, it doesn't mean you're going to get that. And this diabetes is just an example. You know, it's because it's the way that it's being expressed, and what is influencing that is the energy around the DNA, and that energy is our beliefs, our perceptions, our emotions. And it's not only something that we have here and now experiencing in our body, it's something that maybe our grandfather or grandmother experienced when they had a famine, and there's loads of studies that show this. Um, there's a particular town in Europe where they actually did this study, and they have all these records where they were able to look back and see how famine or drought impacts the generations after. And what they did find was that 2 generations later, that there was diabetes in the those particular families. So it's that particular energy that we're looking at, and to be able to identify that and then release it to allow the DNA to then come back to its positive gene expression.
Wow, that research is compelling, really,
Mm,
really fascinating. And when you explain it that way, it makes complete sense,
mm,
about our beliefs controlling our biology, but there's kind of like that structure within our genes. And if we can just help it, um, we can help ourselves,
mhm.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, so I'm interested to know why it is that you do what you do.
Because I love it. But other than that, because I can see how it lights up people just because they come back to their health, come back to being who they are. And, there's a lot of research that comes from the Heart Math Institute about the heart and the implications of how um, that frequency and the field that the heart puts out impacts all the cells in the body. And if you can get into that place by being authentic, being um, allowing yourself to actually release. It's kind of like, I think of it like baggage. It's like, you come into this life with energies that have come from generations, and it's like baggage, and we're here to actually release it. And by being authentic, by being able to do this work, it's possible to do that. And that in itself, and not only for yourself but for generations before. And because if you think, sometimes I work with people and it goes back 10, 15 generations or more, and from where it started. So it's possible to actually release all that, going back all that way. And if you think about it, if it was a woman 15 generations ago, that would be influencing, I don't know how many people on this planet. And once you release it, you're actually allowing that to be released on the collective.
Hmm.
And that, to me, that just, it's powerful.
Yeah, that ripples through
Yeah.
everything for sure. It's
Yeah.
interesting when you said about, our job, our role is to release that baggage. What came to my mind was about, I'm sure we've kind of all heard the phrase, people like as we get older, people talk about how they have more and more baggage, more and more emotional stuff and life stuff that kind of gets added on and added on and added
Yeah.
on. And so I imagine what you're saying then. So if that's the case, it carries through genetically, not only in our lives, as we get older in age, but in our subsequent generations. So our job, it really is to not collect the baggage that in this life, but also to release the baggage that may have come in with us. Is that what you're
Yeah.
saying? Yeah.
Yes. I mean, for instance, I was working with someone who had thyroid issues, and we found an inherited energy there that was impacting her father and her sister, and it was impacting the lungs, even though we were working on the thyroid. But what she said was, she said, my aunt, I can't remember whether it was the aunt or someone in the family, died of lung cancer. And she said, and my sister has asthma,
Mm.
and so does my father. So we released that energy in her, and then the next week when we had the session, she said, "Oh, you're not going to believe this." She said my sister stopped using her inhaler, and we didn't even work on her sister. So that's the kind of implication that this work has.
That is amazing. That is amazing and just a wonderful story. And wow, you changed their lives. You really
Yeah.
changed their lives and the lives of basically everyone that they're touching now, and so on and so on, right?
And I like to say, actually, they changed their lives,
Yeah,
because they took the step to actually step forward and do the work.
you
And
know,
it's their subconscious that does the work.
that's a good
Um,
point. You're
yeah,
shepherding them to do that,
yeah,
guiding them.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Holding the space.
Yeah, yeah, that's beautiful and so necessary. It's
Hmm.
a very vulnerable place to be, and to be able to hold that space for them
Yeah.
is really um, beautiful and very
Hmm.
strong. So I'm wondering who inspired you on this path.
Well, Bruce Lipton. His work, he's a cell biologist, if people haven't heard of him, and he's written the book The Biology of Belief. And while when I left the hospital, that was one of the first books that someone gave me around this topic, and I read that, and it was like I just came full circle. I just knew, I just knew that this is what I was meant to be doing. Because when I was working with genetics in the hospital, I just felt something was missing. And as soon as I read his book, it just came full circle. And he was one of them. And the other is, I was always, after that, I was always looking for sort of a way to be able to work with inherited energies. And, I did other techniques and all sorts. But one of the ones that really helped me connect the dots with the work with the epigenetics, and this is my personal experience, is Dr. Bradley Nelson's book, The Emotion Code.
Hmm.
And I've been sharing that work, doing that work, and sharing about his book, everywhere, because it's just phenomenal. And I have clients that have then taken the book and then used it and had amazing results.
Hmm.
So it's possible. And again, here it is, it's why do I do the work? It's because it's here to empower people
Yeah,
to be able to do it themselves as well. And we don't need a crutch. We're able to, we've got everything within us to be able to do that.
yeah, yeah. You're putting, really, it seems like you're putting your soul's purpose into your life's work, and empowering people
Yeah.
to to take control of their lives and to make the changes that they need to in their lives. So I would like you to share what the message is that you need other people to hear.
You are not a victim to your biology. And that's it. And those few words just sum it up for me.
Wow. Hey, Charan, thank you so much for joining us here on 8 Minutes of Awesome. That is some powerful work and powerful words, and I know that it will be of benefit to many people who hear this. And I would like
Thank
to tell
you.
people, sure, I'd like to tell people that they can find out more information about you and the work you do on your website, charansurdhar.com. And also, you do some engaging and unique animations that I myself am a fan of. I've seen several of them
Thank you.
on YouTube, on your Charan Surdhar YouTube channel. So again, Charan, thank you so much, and keep doing the wonderful work that you do.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me here.
It's my pleasure.